Bobby came to live with us when he turned 18. Bobby is my husband's younger brother. He was accepted into a local college, and instead of staying in the dorms, he saved money by living with us. I didn't mind. He was always a sweet child. My husband and I, Dennis, married 4 years ago. I am now 28. He is 30. We met when I went to work in his family business. I was 23 years old. We got married at 24 years old. Bobby worked there too. So I've known Bobby for 5 years. Dennis's mom got pregnant at 18 and gave birth to Dennis. She gave birth to Bobby at age 30. I was hoping Bobby's move would force Dennis to be home more. Over the last year, we seemed to be growing apart. We moved to our city when Dennis's family opened a new branch. Dennis was assigned to manage it. It was a great opportunity, a chance to build a new territory from scratch. He spent more and more time in the office. I knew he worked hard for us so we could expand our family. He kept putting off having children, saying he wanted to be financially secure. Dennis worked harder and harder. When we met, Dennis pursued me relentlessly. He was always a gentleman and never did anything to harm me, but he approached me with the same zeal with which he closed a deal. He often said, "Nancy, I don't know who sent you to work here, but I owe them everything I have." I was flattered by the attention of this handsome man. He had a great job and everyone liked him. Our wedding was perfect. Almost immediately after the wedding, everything began to change. Instead of pursuing me, Dennis began to take me for granted. He used to take me with him, and we would go to plays and concerts. Now I had to beg him to take me with him. Bobby adored Dennis. He idolized his older brother. Bobby was 13 when we met. I could see from the way he looked at me that he idolized me too. He was always following me around and trying to do something for me. It was so sweet and honest that I was flattered. He was and remains a wonderful child. Unfortunately, when Bobby moved out, it had the opposite effect on Dennis. He stopped showing up at home completely. I share everything with my sister Jane. She lives about a mile from here. We see each other often. I told her that I want my husband and I don't understand what's going on. Why isn't he around all the time? Janie assures me that Dennis loves me and that he is working hard to provide for me and our future children. I want to believe it. In Dennis's absence, Bobby became my main human contact. We spend a lot of time together. Bobby idolizes me, always helps around the house. When I get home, his dinner is already ready. When I leave for work, his coffee is already ready, and he is always ready to give a compliment. We spend a lot of time together, talking, watching TV, and hanging out. He is my main confidant. We even discussed how much I miss Dennis. He is full of compassion and often consoles me by telling me how beautiful I am and how he thinks Dennis is missing out by not seeing me often. When I get up in the morning, Dennis is usually already gone. I look at myself in the mirror. At 5'6" and 105 pounds, I am slim and attractive. I wonder why Dennis doesn't always find me attractive. I go get my coffee, and Bobby has already made it. He's always there for a compliment. I don't think I realized how much I needed them. I never thought about it. But I looked at my outfits, and instead of wondering if Dennis would like it, I started wondering if Bobby would like it. I don't think it's sudden. This happened gradually. I think communication makes you feel closer. I began to look forward to my dinners with Bobby. I stopped asking Dennis often about dinners and outings. Sometimes when Dennis was home, it almost felt like an intrusion. I think this is where the part I'm not proud comes in. Looking back, I know I should have made some decisions, but I didn't really understand what was going on. One day I came home early. Bobby was lying by the pool. He didn't hear me come in. He was lying by the pool in his surf shorts, sunbathing. Somehow I looked at him in a new way. He looked like a taller, lanky version of Dennis. Broad shoulders, thin waist, muscular arms. I thought how handsome he was, and wondered why he didn't go on dates. I decided to join him by the pool and went to my room to put on my swimsuit. I have some. I chose the skimpiest string bikini. There was nothing indecent about it. It can be worn to any beach, but shows a lot of skin. I grabbed a towel and headed towards the pool. "Wow, you look great," he said when he saw me. I couldn't help myself, and turned around so he could see the entire suite. Do you like it? Definitely. I don't think I've ever seen anyone look better in a bikini. Come on. Your school must be full of cute little teenage girls who look better in bikinis. Maybe, but I compare every girl I know to you, and so far not one has stood up to comparison. Wow, that was nice. I felt a shiver run down my spine. He used me as a standard for other women. How cool it was. I laughed and said, "Well, I think you'll find her." And I went to jump into the pool. I may have swayed my hips a little more as I did so. I felt like he was watching me. I jumped into the pool and swam a few laps. "And you?" He jumped up and dived into the water. He swam up to me, grabbed my legs, and dragged me deeper. We wrestled a bit in the water, splashing and pushing each other. At some point, he grabbed me, lifted me over his head, and was about to throw me. I felt his hand very keenly. My bikini bottom rode up a little, and he placed a strong hand on my ass as he lifted me up. I enjoyed this feeling. When he left me, I was sad that I no longer had his hand on my butt. I swam up, wrapped my legs around his waist, and tried to dunk him. When he pushed me, I slid further down his body. Suddenly, I realized that my legs were wrapped around his ass, and I pressed myself closer to him. Mixed feelings of guilt and excitement filled me. It had been a long time since Dennis and I had sex. I liked this feeling. The last time Dennis and I had sex, I felt no emotion, no lovemaking. He just had sex with me. I felt empty. While these thoughts were running through my head, I let go of Bobby and swam away. Feelings of guilt and excitement overwhelmed me. Little by little, good things happen. I got out and went to the shower. In the shower, I let the hot water cascade over me. As soon as this happened, my thoughts turned to Bobby. I could imagine his body, feel his hand on my ass. There was a vague thought about somehow making love. This time, it definitely applied to Bobby. I got dressed for dinner. Again, without realizing it, I wondered what Bobby would want me to wear. I opted for cute, tight terry short shorts and a fitted V-neck t-shirt. The shirt showed his stomach a little. The shorts ended right at the bottom of my ass. I went without a bra. In the end, I reasoned that I wasn't going anywhere else and could dress more comfortably. After getting dressed, I went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Bobby was there before me and was already cooking. His shorts were dry and he was wearing a white tank top. I admired his waist and shoulders from the back. He turned around, saw me, and smiled. I realized that I hadn't noticed anyone smiling at me for a long time. I felt a tingling sensation in my stomach. I liked it. I felt like I wanted more smiles. We had a good dinner. Now looking back, I realize that I was flirting. At the time, I just thought it was a great conversation. I touched his hands, I was happy, and laughed. That evening, Dennis returned home around 10:30. I was in bed. I was waiting for him. All I was wearing was a see-through t-shirt. I got out of bed, grabbed him, and kissed him. I wanted sex. He pushed me away. "Not today, Nancy." "I'm tired." I exploded. "Tired? You're always damn tired. We haven't had sex for months. How can a 30-year-old guy be so damn tired that he doesn't want sex?" He told me to calm down, like, "Bobby can hear me." "So what?" I shouted. "You don't want your brother to know that you don't satisfy me? You're never home." He probably already knows this. Dennis left. I don't know where he went. I sat on the bed and cried until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up with a headache and went to get coffee. I didn't realize that I was still wearing only my see-through t-shirt. I just went to the kitchen. Bobby was sitting at the table. He raised his eyes and stared at me. I realized that my breasts were visible through the t-shirt, and it did not cover my bare ass. I probably should have covered myself. I didn't. Something in me felt that by exposing myself to Bobby, I was getting back at Dennis. I just said good morning and started talking as if everything was normal. "I think you heard us last night." Bobby laughed shyly. It was pretty hard not to hear. "I'm really sorry. I do not know what to do." I started crying. Bobby stood up and came over to comfort me, even though he was confused by my nakedness. Finally, I leaned against his chest and cried. He put his arm around my shoulders. Eventually, he left for school. I received a message from Dennis. "I'm sorry about last night. You're right. I need to be home more often. I have a lot to do this month, but once it's all over, I promise I'll be home more often." "Thank you," I replied. Then I called my sister Janie. I told her the whole story of the quarrel. She was very sympathetic to me. She told me that she sees how hard it is. She also reminded me that Dennis is trying to get the business going and is doing it for our future. I hung up feeling better. Everything is back to normal. Well, almost normal. The only big change was that I was no longer shy around Bobby. I often left my bedroom door open while I got dressed. If I was wearing particularly nice underwear, I might drink coffee in it. After work, I would just put on an oversized t-shirt and nothing else. Sometimes when Bobby and I went to watch TV, I would wear a sexy nightie or other lingerie. I wore a light translucent robe over it to pretend that I was behaving decently, but it often fell open. Dennis probably assumed that all my underwear was for him. This was not the case. This was so Bobby could see me. For his part, Bobby felt comfortable enough with me showing off to compliment me. Sometimes he asked me to take off my robe so that he could see my outfit. He once told me that I had a great ass. I lifted my t-shirt, showed him my ass, and asked if he really thought that way. And then it happened. One day I went shopping. In the store, I saw a small gift that I knew Janie would like. I bought it and decided to go to her house and deliver it. When I got there, I was surprised to see Dennis's car. I got out of the car and headed towards the door. Usually I went right in. That day I stood. I was afraid of what I would see. I opened the door. Voices were heard in the corridor. I walked towards them. These were the sounds of sex. I didn't want to look, but I knew I had to. I wasn't prepared for what I saw. I quickly came to my senses, took out my phone and started shooting video. After a couple of minutes, I stopped and crept back to my car. I sat there, not breathing. I was angry. I was humiliated. I was crushed. A million emotions. The strongest thing was anger. Well, anger and doubt. The closer I got to the house, the angrier I became. I wanted revenge. He had sex with my sister while I was home, begging him to have sex with me. Why? What did she have? I was a good lover. Isn't it? I never said no. I wanted what he wanted. I tried to be his mistress. Why Janie? And Janie? How could she do this to me? How could she listen to me being heartbroken and still sleep with my husband? What kind of person is she if she does this? I parked the car and slammed the door. I rushed home and slammed the door again. Bobby was there. One look at me and he knew something was wrong. He stood up and approached me. I don't know what came over me. I grabbed him by the shirt, pulled him towards me and kissed him. He pulled away and asked, "What's going on? What's happening?" "What's happening is that I'm going to enjoy you to the fullest." He seemed to start protesting. Then he stopped. When I tried to kiss him, he kissed me. I don't blame Bobby. He is 18 years old. I am 28 years old. The woman he's been dreaming about for 5 years just told him she's going to have sex with him. Where was he supposed to go? I pushed him onto the sofa. Having done this, I unzipped my skirt and stepped out of it, leaving it lying on the floor. I kissed him again, pushed him harder onto the sofa, and knelt down in front of him. He watched me closely. Our eyes met. "I was wondering what you would think, Dennis, if you saw me now. But who cares what that bastard thinks?" I took Bobby's hand and led him to the bedroom. I wanted to take him in my bed, in Dennis's bed. To hell with Dennis, I thought. He screwed up. I could be the best thing in his life. I focused on getting the most out of Bobby. I loved feeling his body. I rolled off him and plopped down next to him. We lay there, breathing heavily. I turned to him and kissed him. "Thank you, Bobby. It was wonderful." Bobby started asking me something. "Not now. I need to get myself in order." I sent him to his room. I took my phone and watched the video again. "You're a bastard," I thought. I sent the video to Dennis with the message, "Don't come home." My phone rang almost immediately. I didn't answer the call and wrote back, "I have nothing to talk about. Don't come home." I took a shower, cleaned myself up, put on a robe, and went to the kitchen. Bobby was sitting there. "Are you okay?" "No," I answered. I handed him my phone with this video. Bobby said, "Oh my God, I am so sorry." He came up to me, hugged me, and pressed me to him. I burst into tears. My phone rang again. It was Dennis. I ignored it. Bobby's phone rang. He replied, "Fuck you." That's all he said, and passed out. I knew Dennis would show up soon. My parents lived too far away. Janie was my only close relative and my best friend in the past. I wanted to leave, but didn't know where. Bobby told me to get dressed. We were going to his parents' house. It was an hour away, but I didn't know what else to do. I cried the whole way there. When we got home, his mom took one look at me and asked what happened. She asked if Dennis was okay. Bobby took my phone and showed her the video. "Oh my God," she said. Dennis's father came over and watched the video. "What a scoundrel," he said. As he held the phone in his hand, it rang. It was Dennis. His dad answered the call. "She doesn't need to talk to you right now," he said. He listened for a moment and then said, "She's here. We saw the video. Do not come to me." And he passed out. That night, while I was trying to sleep, his mom and dad were arguing. Mom said I needed to talk to Dennis and work things out. Dad said Dennis was a jerk and that I should get a divorce and he would support me. The next few days passed in a blur. Bobby came back to my house and brought me some clothes. He waited for Dennis to leave. Janie and Dennis tried to call me several times. I didn't answer their calls. His mom was talking to Dennis. She told me he was sorry and wanted to work things out. When his dad was there, he told her to stay out of it and that I should never go back to Dennis. I couldn't stay there forever, so I started looking for a place. Dad saw this and asked what I was doing. He reminded me that the house belonged to the company, which meant that the house belonged to him. Although he was legally required to notify Dennis in order to get him out, he thought he could convince him. Later, I found out from Dennis that he would fire him if he didn't move out and leave me alone. I returned home. Bobby is with me. Bobby never tried anything sexual. He was a real gentleman. He, as always, supported me. I filed for divorce. Dennis's mom kept trying to get me to deal with Dennis. Dad wouldn't let Dennis bother me. Dad soon fired Dennis. He said he was disgusted and didn't want Dennis around his clients. Mom was angry with her husband for not supporting her efforts to reconcile. My parents called and said that Janie complained to them that I wasn't talking to her. I sent them a video. My father took my side. Mom started an argument saying, "We are a family." After a few months, things began to calm down. I refused to talk to Dennis or Janie. My mom wanted me to talk to Janie and was angry that I didn't. His mom wanted me to talk to Dennis. Dad supported me, which caused them problems at home. One evening, I came home from work. Bobby was in the kitchen preparing dinner. He turned around when he saw me enter. He prepared a glass of wine for me. "Dinner is almost ready," he said. "I'm not very hungry yet." "Does it endure?" "No problem," he said. "It can wait." Approaching him, I reached to the side and unzipped my skirt. I let it fall to the floor, stepped out of it, and walked over to Bobby. She took his hands in hers and said, "Okay, then make love to me." Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.